So this is a response to the people that were asking for a tone tutorial based on the tone that I got in my Spit Out the Bone cover by Metallica. So I want to show you a snippet of Dream No More, which is a new song off the Metallica album Hardwired to Destruct that I'm working on. This uses the exact same tone as Spit Out the Bone, so I'll play a sample. I'm going to break this into 3 different sections. First will be my main setup, so my guitar, my audio interface and my laptop. Then I'm going to get into actually how to record your tracks properly. And then the third section will be tone shaping. So just as a disclaimer as we move forward, it's highly unlikely you're going to get the exact same tone that I have in this video. There are so many factors that come into play, like my guitar, my pickups, my audio interface, that aren't going to be the same as yours. So you're definitely going to be tweaking some settings as you go along just to suit your setup. The guitar I'm using is a Jackson Dinky fitted with DiMarzio HS3s. That's going into a audio interface called a Focusrite Scarlett 2i4, and that is going into a laptop, an Asus laptop. The way I connect to my Focusrite is via a guitar jack. I also press this pad button here. This acts as a gain attenuator, otherwise the signal going in will be too hot and it'll be clipping. On the Focusrite it has this handy feature in the form of these halos that change colour to tell you if your signal is too hot. So what we're trying to do here is get as much signal in before it starts clipping. So what I do is I usually play the guitar a little harder than usual and keep adjusting the gain until it goes into the green region. So around there for me seems to be a good spot. Just a bit of advice if you're recording on a laptop like I am. There seems to be a lot of noise issues, especially if the guitar is too close to the laptop itself. You get a lot of interference and hiss and noise that really can ruin your recording. So I would advise getting a pair of headphones with a length of at least 2 meters, just so that you can be as far away as possible from the laptop when you're recording. Because if you're too close, it will ruin the recording. Also, when you're recording, I would advise to unplug the charger, as there seems to be some kind of constant noise or ground hum that affects the signal when the charger is plugged in. Right now I'm in Reaper, which is my digital audio workstation where I record all my tracks. So I have 2 tracks here and they're panned hard left and hard right. This technique is called double tracking, and it's the secret kind of to that big sound that rock and metal bands get. So what you want to do is record 2 separate takes of the riff or the song that you're recording and pan them hard left and hard right, and the subtle differences between those takes will create that kind of big massive sound. You can't just use one track and copy and paste it onto the next track, because you'll just have a mono sound then. So I'm going to zoom in on these guys here and you can see the subtle differences between the audio waveforms. So obviously they're not completely the same, and it's all subtle differences that will make the track sound bigger. Okay, so on to the tone shaping. I'm using Reaper as my digital audio workstation, so this is where all the effects will be applied. We're going to be working on one track only, so highlight the track that's panned hard right and just pull it to the center. The same effects will be applied on both guitar tracks, so just copy and paste over the settings to the left guitar afterwards. Right now I have all the effects turned off on this guitar track, so we'll just audition the DI recording now. Now we can enable the effects and load up Revolver 4. The first thing in the chain is a tube screwing pedal. So right click and navigate to the greener TS808 pedal. I have the overdrive set to 0, the tone is set to 8.92 and the level is set to 10. I find this pedal sounds really nice before an amp and really adds some grit to the signal. Next is the amp itself. I've loaded up PV6505 on the rhythm setting. Pre-gain is set to almost halfway and the crunch and bright buttons are enabled. The EQ settings are as follows. Bass is set quite high at 8.59. Find my guitar lacks a lot of the low end that is associated with Metallica's tone, so I pushed this quite a bit. Be careful with this as it can quickly turn your tone into a muddy mess. The mids are set low at 3.18 and the highs are set at 7.48. Post gain is maxed out, resonance is at 1.67 and presence is at 9.14 to give the tone a little bit more sparkle. And that's it for Revolver. We're bypassing the cabinet, similar to that it provides, because they usually tend to be quite lackluster in most amp simulation software. Because we've got no cabinet connected, it'll sound terrible, so maybe turn down your volume a bit for this. So now we can open Pull on the Cab's impulse loader. Navigate through Guitar Hack's impulses to find the one called JJ Between Half. These impulses are free and I've left download links in the description. Bridge the two cabinets by pressing the symbol and check out the tone. So obviously that sounds a lot closer to a good metal tone. Now copy these settings in the left guitar track and don't forget to pan the right guitar 100% right again. The only thing I want to change in the left guitar track is the impulse response. So load up Pull on the Cab and change the impulse to JJ Between 0. Having two slightly different impulses loaded can really add to the wideness of the sound. Okay, so we're halfway there. What we need to do now is refine the sound. So add a track called Guitar Bus. The idea here is to send two guitar tracks to this bus so we can EQ them simultaneously. Do this by clicking on the I/O box of each track in the mixer. Uncheck Master Send, click Add New Send and select Guitar Bus. Do the same for the left guitar. Now any effects we add to the guitar bus will affect both tracks. So let's take a look at what's happening in the guitar bus. It's mostly a chain of EQs and a small bit of compression. So let's do an A/B comparison on the sound before and after the effects are enabled. So the first EQ chain is just a high and low pass filter. There's also a dip in the mids here. The high pass filter is set to approximately 50 Hz, the mid dip is at 500 Hz, and the low pass is set to approximately 14 kHz. This is a standard EQ chain for cleaning up unwanted sub-bass frequencies and removing the hissy kind of highs. The thing to remember that when doing subtractive EQing is that there will be a drop in volume, so make sure to adjust the overall gain before you move on. So let's just toggle the effects on and off to hear the difference. Okay, on to the second EQ in the chain. This is kind of more surgical in the sense that we want to get rid of particular annoying frequencies that are resonating and could potentially ruin the mix. So we'll start from left to right. I've added another high pass filter to make sure that none of the sub-bass frequencies are getting through. I've also notched around 100 Hz at -3 dB. Have a listen to what it sounds like before and after. To find any unwanted or resonant frequencies, just create a narrow band, increase the gain, and scan the spectrum. Once you find one, just decrease the gain. This can take a while to master, so keep at it and train your ear to listen for problematic frequencies. I'll just hover over these notches so you can see the details of what frequency has been affected and by how much. The last two notches are quite noticeable when you toggle them on and off. Have a listen here. So those harsh highs definitely needed to be tamed a small bit. Well, that's the second EQ change on. Next is just some light compression. I'm actually going to skip this part because it barely affects the tone. It's more for keeping any volume spikes from pan mutes and such in check. I've used the Waves API 2500, but you can use any stock compressor for this. So finally we've just got a wide EQ at 260 Hz to bring out the low mids a bit and give it a bit more body. So that's all the tone shaping done. Let's do a before and after again. Now the final step is to add a small bit of reverb. I've set up a reverb bus that takes the guitar bus as input. I'm using the Manny Marquin reverb plugin, but any stock reverb will do. I've set it to simulate a large room and turn the amount up to the max. I also did a bit of EQing. Slightly boosted the mids and lows and dipped the highs. I've added some compression as well. Make sure to set the output to completely wet. Now you can use the volume slider and increase the amount of reverb in the mix. I'll also solo it to let you hear what it sounds like. You can hear it kind of adds a nice depth to the sound. So that's pretty much it. If anybody has any questions, just leave them in the comments.